Peter, welcome to another fascinating edition of Rep Rap. As you know, this show has taken on a reputation of its own, and I think as we're talking here today, we're probably going to open up a new chapter in the discussion. And what I really want to talk to you about today is this idea that the companies that do well in their business, but by being socially conscious or by being green, somehow have an advantage over other companies, or at least that's the perception. So I want to get your sense of that. Is it a critical part of doing business now that you have to have a social conscience, or you have to be aware of what your footprint is on the planet, or is it just overrated?
The idea of corporate social responsibility is a long-standing tradition here in New England. Many of the great institutions, the Boston Public Library, for example, was founded by magnificent individuals that thought it was a good idea. Remember, all the libraries were private. Owning a book was a very special thing. And these people came along and said, no, we think it's a great idea to have books for people. Now, move that forward 100 years, and certainly we wouldn't think it's a great societal change to have a library today. So now we've moved on to the issues of the day, which is certainly the environment, and those people are now involved in that.
It seems though, I mean, one difference between the day of yore and now is that it seems to be that people did things, companies did things because they were the right things to do. And whether they told people about it and shouted it from the rooftops, not so much then as now. Now, it seems that companies want to wrap themselves in their good deeds, and I wonder, does that ultimately hurt their reputation, where they seem to be taking quick advantage of a thing well done?
Well, I think you always begin with the idea, and I like to be, maybe it's the Boy Scout in me, I like to think of people having good intentions to begin with. They're doing the right thing, not because somebody's watching first, they're doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do. That's just, I think, just good ethics. But today, there's nothing wrong. Businesses have figured out today that they can do a good job, they can be responsible corporate citizens, they can also, for example, have a much smaller carbon footprint, and they can make it a very successful part of their business, their own business strategy. So we don't have any problem with people that are doing the right thing, and a byproduct of that is that they seem to be get greater recognition and are more revered. But if they start off with that idea that, boy, how am I going to get recognition for this? That's probably not they probably shouldn't do it, shouldn't even get to do it, because that's a
question of the companies that you think got it right, where they started out doing the right thing for the right reasons, and over time have gotten credit for that. And as a result of that, their reputation as a company is embedded in the good things that they've done. Companies that come to mind?
Oh, there's some great companies. I'll take a couple of, for example, some of them have to do with the culture of the organization. The culture of the organization was, you always want to start local. The whole idea is being a good corporate citizen and displaying corporate social responsibility in your local community. Now, if you read my Reputation Excellence blog,
which I do
regularly. I talked about the hardware store owner in my community when I grew up in Brighton. He owned a little hardware store, and he was a sponsor of the neighborhood Little League team. Now you say, boy, is that really corporate social responsibility? It's more community relations. The guy's name was, I will mention his name right now, his name was Al Sokoloff. He was a wonderful pillar of the Brighton community, and in his little hardware store. And that hardware store sponsored the Little League team. Now, he didn't ask to put his name on the back of the shirts. There was no fanfare, but everybody in the community knew that this person was somebody that was going to do the right thing. So I start with that local idea.
Right.
Now, morph that forward to a global organization. Now, here's one where you really have made corporate social responsibility a business objective and a business strategy. Walmart, for example, probably the best example they use at Walmart is Walmart wanted to reduce its carbon footprint, and they did something. We'll just take one aspect of that, because they have such tremendous buying power and such influence over their over their suppliers, and they're a big player. If you're in the retail business or selling products to the retail world, you have to sell to Walmart. Well, Walmart went to Procter & Gamble and they said, look, we'd like to reduce the size. We think there's a way that we could lower our carbon footprint by reducing the size of laundry detergent bottles. I said, well, what do you mean reducing the size? Well, what's in the laundry detergent? And Procter & Gamble, lo and behold, said, well, truthfully, about half of that product is water. And so, geez, Walmart and its great, style and way went to them and said, geez, well, what would happen if you reduced the size and took half the water out and made it a concentrate? Lo and behold, Procter & Gamble said, geez, it wouldn't change the effect. People would just put half the amount in would it change the efficacy of the product? No, it wouldn't change it one bit. It would just take the water out of it, and the water gets put back in when you put it in the washing machine, for example. Well, think about what that does to the supply chain. Smaller shelf space leads to smaller stores or a greater opportunity to put more things in the store. Less trucking, smaller bottle that goes to the landfill, or hopefully it doesn't even go to the landfill, gets recycled. So you see, just from that one small act, now you say, Jesus, that corporate social responsibility, that's probably more closely akin to an enlightened self-interest. Walmart looking at something and saying, how can I be a responsible corporate citizen, but how can I do it in a strategic business way? And they've been able to do that with, laundry detergent is one. You won't find a normal incandescent light bulb, for example, in Walmart right now. Or I'm not exactly sure whether it's 100% no incandescence, but they make it very difficult for you. Marketers that are out there in the audience of RepRap will know that center facing in the aisle, when you walk down the aisle and you see where those products are, well, Walmart makes it very convenient for you to buy fluorescent bulbs, for example, and they incentivize people to buy them. Now, that to me is very enlightened business strategy that leads to greater corporate social responsibility.
And you'll remember this example, the Pillar House, and the former owner is no longer there for years in Newton, and the owner, way before his time, banned smoking.
I remember that.
Long before there was ever any movement about banning smoking in public buildings or restaurants, and banned smoking, and people thought he was crazy. What happened was, he did it for his own health reasons, because he couldn't tolerate the effects of smoke. And what happened was, the smokers found another restaurant to go to. The non-smokers, who had been waiting for exactly that restaurant, flocked to his restaurant, and he had more business than ever before.
Good idea.
And led the way. So,
Thinking.
so another example of enlightened self-interest. In terms of the issue of, do you need to do it now? Is this now such a requirement for doing business that you can't afford not to be seen as green or not to be seen as good, that we no longer tolerate a corporate culture that doesn't have that somehow embedded in its culture?
Let's take the business case first, because these are for-profit businesses for the most part that we're talking about. I think there was a thought at one point that the research would show that consumers would not pay more money for a green product. They wouldn't pay more money for a green product. That's no longer the case. They will pay more money for a green product. And not only that, an added value to that marketing of the green product is that added positive impression that you give, that you're concerned for the environment in maybe subtle, but therefore you're really concerned about the long-term future and viability of our society, long-term future viability of our communities, whether they be global, regional, or local. So I think being green is very good business, and you get that added benefit of also having that positive impression that you're giving. But you don't do it for that first and foremost.
Right.
I think it starts with that beginning of the ethical kind of compass, your guiding compass when you start off. Doing the right thing, you have the right vision and ethos, then, boy, I think you're going to do very well in the long term. And it's doing good, as I think it was Socrates that says, living a good life, it's its own reward, and you also have that added benefit of having a pretty good life, too.
Great advice. Thank you, Peter.
You're welcome.
That's another edition of RepRap. Thank you for joining us.